So I have a Leica M6, not that one, but I didn't buy it. Leica gave it to me. Well, when I say gave, that's not strictly the truth, but I did get it for free. Well, when I say for free, that does need clarifying. So I didn't know until recently that Leica offered test drives of certain models, including this one, the M6, for free. Try before you buy if you like. So I borrowed this for a weekend to try out. A whole weekend. It was a short-lived love affair then. A romantic weekend, if you will. No one tell my wife. This could have been fatal, of course, though. What if I fell in love with it? £8 for a film camera and lens? Are they mad? So I had this M6 paired with a Summicron 35mm f2, also supplied by Leica. I've gone to heaven, haven't I? My perfect combo. This is what heaven looks like, right? It's not digital though, so the film, Ilford HP5, was all mine. And if you're interested, you too can borrow a Leica for the weekend. And a digital one if you prefer. So the first day of the weekend, which is Saturday if you didn't know, I took this Leica to Leeds. If you want to get an expensive camera nicked, where else to take it than Leeds? Sorry, Leeds. So the one reason I've never used or even held a Leica before is because I didn't want to fall in love with it. The much talked about Leica experience is what you're paying for really, but I can't really afford to buy this camera myself. I need many more of you to subscribe to my E6 subscription to be able to do that. And that's where you'll find more of the results of that lead shoot at E6, link in the description below. So I might not be able to justify the cost, but I might get hit by a bus tomorrow and therefore never have had that Leica experience myself. Luckily, I didn't get hit by a bus whilst I had the camera in Leeds either. Now, as I said in the recent video, this may be my dream camera. a film variation as opposed to a digital version. An M10 or M11 may still offer the same Leica experience, the aesthetic, the feel, etc., and be modern examples, but they do lack some key features. They're not perfect cameras. I don't need a full frame camera, not a 60 megapixel one. I do need IBIS though. I do want to take sharp, shake-free images at 1/8 a second, and I don't think that's possible with an M series Leica. High megapixels and no image stabilizing is not a good combination, especially on full frame. I want a tilting screen on a digital camera, not an articulating screen, but a tilting screen. And again, Leicas don't have that. I do want autofocus sometimes. The rangefinder manual focus system is part of that experience on the Leica, but for day-to-day shooting from a main camera, that's a big omission for me. I do want weather sealing. I want to feel confident getting this camera wet. I think weather sealing is a little overrated, and I don't often give a camera a proper soak-in, but even just used at the coast, it does offer a bit of confidence that it won't die of the shock. And then there's the price. If you're walking around with a 10 grand camera, especially in the city, you do feel conscious of that value. You are extra cautious. You do wonder if a would-be thief is looking out for that red dot as you wander the back streets. I do spend a lot of my time in dodgy back alleyways in rundown parts of towns. So maybe a digital Leica is maybe not for me. But I don't think you necessarily buy a Leica for its spec. You don't buy one expecting all the latest mod cons and features. If you do, you'll be sorely disappointed. I get that. Leica do what they do, and that's what you buy into. As a second camera, a weekend camera if you like, alongside your more sophisticated main camera, it makes more sense. If you perhaps only do street photography, which of course is a bit of a cliche that this is a camera for that, but then yes, a Leica, if your wallet is fat enough, is for you. So for my second shoot of the weekend, we'll call this one Sunday, that was back to a reservoir. So this camera, the film version, the original vision for Leicas, does make sense. It's still a lot of cash to shoot film, which of course is making a resurgence. But if you want the best for shooting this medium, then the Leica M series does make more sense. Now it's less about megapixels. Well, it's not about that at all. It's not about sharpness, well, apart from the lens. But I argue the sharpness of the lens is less critical for film, especially a film like HP5 compared with digital. It's definitely not about the colour science. That's determined by whatever film you load. And as I only shoot black and white film, still not a factor. The result, as in the camera experience, is exactly the same as it was in the 1960s or 70s, when these cameras were first released. In that respect, a Leica makes sense. I can pick up an old second-hand Leica from 1960, or I could buy with more confidence and spend more on an updated new version of a classic, like this M6. Leica have kept up with the times by adding digital versions, but at heart, they're a film camera brand. So this is why I was keen to try out a Leica, the famous rangefinder focusing. It's what they are known for, and of course they do it best. I have tried a variation of this with my Olympus 35RC film camera, and the Fuji X Pro 2 tries to simulate the experience. That in many ways has modernised this way of shooting, whereas Leica have kept with the original approach and stayed full manual focusing even on the digital models. So, did I love that or hate it? Well, I'll summarise in a moment, but for now my third and final shoot of the weekend, which we'll call Sunday afternoon, was around the amazing Kelham Island area of Sheffield. This camera, of course, isn't weather sealed, but hopefully a few drops of rain won't hurt it. Now, I swapped films at this point and loaded a fresh roll using the quick load system, but it failed me. The film didn't wind on even after 10 frames. I had to take the film out and try again and reshoot these next images. It may have been me, but it is meant to be a quick, easy and fail-safe system. So just like film becoming fashionable again, Leica used to be seen as a camera for the more experienced photographer, the wealthy photographer, or the retired doctor or solicitor maybe. I'm stereotyping here, of course. But the younger generation seems to be embracing the brand too, so Leica isn't just for the over 60s. Leica do seem to be tapping into the younger market. Good for them. So, do I now have my eye on a Leica purchase? Well, a second-hand classic Leica does make sense. I liked using the M6, but to be honest, it didn't blow me away. It was nice, but not £8 grand nice. All the images I took I could have easily captured with my Nikon FM2. The camera offered me with a slightly different shooting experience then, and I came away with new images and compositions from those 3 familiar locations. A success in that respect then. Everything else was as expected then. So I love the rangefinder styled Olympus Pen F. My favourite current Fuji camera is the X Pro 2. I use a rangefinder 35RC from Olympus. I'm sold with the rangefinder style of cameras, and now, for film at least, for a short time, the true rangefinder experience. So for now, the M6 has to go back, and if I want to own one, I'll have to start saving the pennies. Now, have I mentioned my E6 subscription? Or my range of ebooks? Or maybe you would like to join me on one of my workshops? Have you checked out my unique online course? Donations of all type are welcome. The Buy Craig a Leica Fund has officially begun. I'll see you next time.